Wait a second, did I start streaming? Oh, I did. Oh, hello everybody. Uh, it's just been announced Virgil Abloh's died. Louis Vuitton and Off-White are devastated to announce the passing of Virgil Abloh on Sunday, today, November 28th, of cancer, which he had been battling privately for over years. So I guess this just wasn't news to everybody because it's shocking news to me. And let's see what he's. Wow, that's devastating to hear. Off-White. I guess his first fashion house and second business.
Trying to catch the beat.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Sad to announce Virgil Abloh has just passed away. This is Virgil right here.
Like wanting to know more because there's that felt like something that was at play, something that we didn't know but we appreciated. So that was ironically at the Louis Vuitton store on Michigan Avenue.
For almost a decade, Virgil was Kanye's personal creative director and was in charge of overseeing projects like stage shows and concert merchandise. He was the co-designer of Kanye West's 808s and Heartbreak cover, and he was in charge of art direction for My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, Watch the Throne, and the Yeezus tour.
He's like the strategist. I'm the emoter. I'm like Tesla. I'm thinking of all.
Kanye's history in the fashion industry is as long and involved as his career in music. And since he burst onto the scene in 2004, his impact on men's fashion may be unmatched. The college dropout shattered the mold of gangsta rap in favor of a more introspective, self-aware style of rap. It shifted the landscape of hip-hop sonically and also changed the world's perception on what a rapper should look like. Ye traded in baggy jeans. Pyrex was met with underground acclaim. Virgil thought of it as more of an art project than fashion brand, so he stopped it immediately to make way for his next idea. Following the release of Kanye West's sixth studio album, Yeezus, Ye did a string of epic interviews where he outlined his frustration with the fashion industry.
I am so frustrated. I've got so much I want to give. I've got ideas on color palettes. I've got ideas on silhouettes. And I've got a million people telling me why I can't do it. You know, that I'm not a real designer, I'm not this. I'm not a real rapper either. I'm not a real musician either. Like, I don't know how to play the piano. Like, I'm an artist. I went to art college.
He said that without a large corporation's backing, the most he'd be able to design would be
T-shirts. That's the most we...
Very, very tragic. Let's see if we can see anything more about his life.
As an architecture student, I had a professor that said I didn't have the pedigree or ideas or skill set to sort of work in any sort of important.
I appreciate you guys watching this with me. Please leave a like and sub on the video. Help me grow my page.
Off-White is sort of my resume and mood board for an actual idea that I have for the modern luxury brand. It's almost like a laboratory. For me, it's like my teenage years is the foundation for everything that I've sort of done afterward. I was just like an average sort of suburban kid that was skateboarding, listening to Nirvana, Beastie Boys, rap, Wu-Tang. Like you say the music, you can think of a look. And so as I started thinking about clothing, I was always drawn to what my initial interest was, and that was T-shirts. For Off-White, my contribution was I would take a young idea of streetwear. This idea that t-shirts and hoodies are important, but making that in the same factories as luxury houses. So that's why we're in Italy.
This is men's team working on pre-collection next season. Shoes are happening in the back. This is women's room.
I just moved to this newer space because the concept is growing.
How's it going? New office. It's nice in here.
But I have no desk in the world. I travel probably like 320 days a year, 8 flights a week. Chicago, Frankfurt, Milan, London, Berlin, Amsterdam, Vegas, and LA. It's a lot. I work on the street, literally, like phone in hand. I feel like Off-White might be one of the truly first sort of like luxury brands that's been just built from social media. It behaves in this sort of hybrid in between a traditional system and a new system, as in streetwear, that clothes just come out at different times, they're posted on Instagram, and consumers can buy them. And I'm interested in that hybrid in between them both. You know, I'm directly pointed at this generation that hasn't been messaged luxury to yet. As an Off-White sort of look, you know, I'm looking to put this with.
It's wild. Continuing off Louis Vuitton's statement, he said, "We are all shocked after this terrible news. Virgil is not only a genius designer, a visionary, he was also a man with a beautiful soul and a great wisdom. The LVMH family joins me in this moment of great sorrow. We are all thinking of his loved ones, and after the passing of their husband, their father, their brother, or their friend."
For the season. This current collection that I'm developing, choosing Princess Diana as the muse, is sort of this resonance.
Virgil Abloh helped make $300 t-shirts and $600 hoodies not just fashionable.
I appreciate you guys watching. Please leave a like and sub on the page. Help me to grow my page.
And up to $2,000 on the aftermarket. Arguably 2017's most influential figure in fashion, here's what you need to know about Virgil Abloh's rise to the top of the industry. Born in Rockford, Illinois, Abloh graduated from the University of Wisconsin-Madison with an undergraduate degree in civil engineering. He then got his Master's of Architecture at the Illinois Institute of Technology. Abloh first came in contact with longtime colleague Kanye West by uncovering where the rapper screen printed his early concert merchandise. He then persuaded the owner of the business to introduce him to West's then manager. Things moved quickly, and in 2002, at the age of 22, Abloh left a role at a firm in Chicago and was appointed as a creative consultant for Kanye West and his agency Donda. In 2006, he became a regular contributor to The Brilliance, an influential website by Ben Gott and Chuck Anderson, where he debuted his first t-shirt design. Medallions on Blue was printed on a Champion t-shirt and sold at Parisian retailer Colette. It sold out in just a week.
Wow.
Virgil Abloh interned together with Kanye West at Fendi's Rome headquarters in 2009, the same year that Abloh co-founded Chicago boutique RSVP Gallery with West's former tour manager, Dawn Crawley. Working with Riccardo Tisci, Abloh was the art director for 2011's collaborative Jay-Z and Kanye West album.
I appreciate you guys watching. Please like the video, sub to my page to help me grow my page.
In 2012, Abloh launched his first label, Pyrex Vision. The line included high-priced screen-printed Champion tees, sweatshirts, and gym shorts, and included a series of dead-stock Rugby Ralph Lauren flannel shirts bought on clearance when the Rugby brand was shuttering. He screen-printed the term Pyrex 23 on the back and sold them for $550 a piece. Abloh looked at Pyrex as more of an experimental art project and resolved to start a more serious fashion collection in the future. Early 2013 saw the rise of Bin Trill, self-described as an art collective and DJ crew whose image and sound is defined by the frenzy of new youth culture found on the pages of the deep web and on the blocks of big cities. Abloh's role with Bin Trill spawned his DJ alias, Flat White, which continues to appear on all promotional DJ materials. Abloh also launched Off-White in 2013, and the world noticed. In 2015, he was the only American to become a finalist for the prestigious LVMH Prize for Young Fashion Designers. In December 2014, Marcello Berlon and Partners founded New Guards Group, which handles production, distribution, and creative services for Off-White, as well as other brands like Paul Mangels and Heron Preston. In 2016 alone, Virgil Abloh collaborated on collections with Montclair, Levi's, and the artist Brendan Fowler. He got the internet talking when he teased a forthcoming collaboration with Swedish furniture brand IKEA. But 2017
Wow.
was Abloh's most prolific year. The doors to Off-White stores opened around the world, in Singapore, Hong Kong, Vancouver, Melbourne, and more, reaffirming the brand's global relevance. Abloh was also invited by prestigious universities Columbia and Harvard to present keynote presentations. He made a huge splash in the sneaker world when his The 10 collection alongside Nike finally debuted. The collection consists of 8 reworked and deconstructed sneakers, as well as one from Jordan and one from Converse, both of which are subsidiaries of Nike. In 2019, a retrospective of Virgil Abloh's career will be held at the Museum of Contemporary Art in Chicago. Speaking to the South China Morning Post, Abloh said, "We intend to look at the 950 projects I've done, to then reflect on what it says about millennial culture." To find out more about Virgil Abloh and his seemingly endless
I appreciate you guys watching. Please leave a like on the video and sub to my page to help me grow it. It's just breaking news on Louis Vuitton's site. He had been battling cancer for years, apparently. And maybe it's still there? Watch this.
On 2 different
appreciate you guys
channels,
watching.
and we're able to mix
Please
them
like it.
together.
I love that image of the 2 mixes together, and
Yeah.
you're taking different sources and you're working them
Yeah.
together.
And then, of course, birth of hip hop and all the sort of cultural nuance. What I love and what I get empowered by when I look at Christo's work, and what I see is that the tourist is now in the conversation in a very purist way. Imagine a 17-year-old or a person from Japan came to Paris to see the sights, and they see the Eiffel Tower in its original form. Then they come, and the tour guide says, "There's the Arc de Triomphe." And they're, in the year 2021, having this epiphany and maybe going back and discovering contemporary art, or just looking at this monument in a way, and they're capturing it on their phone as something completely unique.
You're now incredibly experienced, been designing across
Yeah.
a wide range of disciplines for a long time. But as you say, you try and hold on to that kind of teenage excitement and
Yeah,
where
yeah.
you're just enthusiastic and you're always searching out the next thing. Why is that important to you?
The access to information and knowledge is now broader than ever before. I feel there's a renaissance potential within our generation. An adolescent basically can swipe on an iPad and search on Google and gain knowledge in a way that was nearly impossible before. As a creator of contemporary art in today's society, there's new limits. Tastes are shifting at a dramatic pace. What society values is shifting. Constructs that were seen impossible are possible. As an artist, as a creator of contemporary things, I weight a lot of value within the tourist. The tourist is ever evolving.
With the Arc de Triomphe happening in fall 2021, there's clearly a great poignancy there that Christo never intended. This is a work all about freedom, all about joy, all about beauty, at a time when the world has been deprived of those things and we're coming out. And I think that's often been the case with Christo.
Guys are watching, thank you for watching. Like the video and sub to my page to help me grow my breaking news. Like extremely late breaking. Like I just hopped on Twitter and saw this breaking. Virgil. Oh. It was a rare aggressive form. It's cardiac angiosarcoma. The news is on E2, so it's breaking everywhere.
I need to sort of, prove that this sort of radical thought is the new direction forward. And a friend of mine on the way to the Louis Vuitton show said, he's like, you realize that you're the establishment now. And I was like, damn. Like that screws up screws up the whole fight or whatever. But and of course, that's only the surface level. Like I'm happy when the whole scene evolves and it's a different place. I'm happy when I see, like all of us in this room now. What's the biggest? Well, there's two malls here that are sort of very well known. What are they called? Exactly, Phipps, Lenox. So, and it's so prevalent in Atlanta rap music. How could I forget? Super big contribution to the world at large. But we all of us that are shoppers know when you go. You remember you'd go into like said luxury brand, and they wouldn't have like the logo T-shirt, right, or the one that was in the video, and now that we go to said luxury brand, that's all you see, season after season, and that's a distinct contribution of Atlanta to Paris luxury fashion. So that's just one indication of how what was at the underground is not just
Seems to be on his Instagram as well. Here. It's kind of heartbreaking finding out this way. So, coming straight from his Instagram, we can see the announcement. We are devastated to announce the passing of our beloved Virgil Abloh, a fiercely devoted father, husband, son, brother, and friend. He's survived by his father, husband, son, and his children. For over 2 years, Virgil valiantly battled a rare aggressive form of cancer, cardiac angiosarcoma. He chose to endure his battle privately since his diagnosis in 2019. Oh, that was fast. Undergoing numerous challenging treatments, all while helming several significant institutions that span fashion, art, and culture. Yeah, he was out there. That's for sure. He was definitely out there. Through it all, his work ethic, infinite curiosity, and optimism never wavered. Virgil was driven by his dedication to his craft and his mission to open doors for others and create a pathway for greater equality in art and design. He often said that everything I do is for a 17-year-old version of myself, believing deeply in the power of art to inspire future generations. Thank you all for your love and support, and we ask for privacy as we grieve and celebrate Virgil's life. Such devastating news. Watch this little documentary about Virgil Abloh talking about
I
streetwear.
think they're having a conversation, which is the first and foremost most important part, you know. And the way I see it, it's like brands are starting to have a new type of dialogue with the customer. You know, the customer, the public in general, has a lot more knowledge. They're a lot more discerning. So
I appreciate you guys watching. Please leave a like on the video and sub to help me grow my page. I appreciate every single one of you.
what makes room for large opportunity is that there's new space for new dialogue. I think there's new room, you know, there's a new, to me, you know, there's a new space to be defined. That's the best way. Like, I don't think we've yet to see how substantial and how innovative and how creative this new merger is meant to be. And, you know, my work is focused on making it, you know, making tangible examples, whether that be a fashion show or a garment or a collaboration, just to find space. And I've always been about like discovering by doing. So that's sort of my, you know, I take that as my personal goal, is to understand what this new ethos in design can breed, like new, you know, new collections, garments, and new.
Oh, we got taken so soon.
Yeah, you know, I'm not sort of like comfortable with like a status quo. You know, it's important to note too, originally I was just a, you know, consumer. I was the person that was just buying things that were interesting. I came from an era within streetwear in New York, in Los Angeles, and Japan, that there was sort of like great vibrance because it was new and sort of an independent.
I appreciate every single one of you guys watching. Please leave a like on the video, sub to help me grow my page.
Those things weren't sort of able to continue. I saw a void, you know, picking up the conversation where they left off. And so for me, it's just about, you know, expressing ideas and sort of building a project that's sort of tangible in a way. It's easy, you know, it's in the history books, you know, there's already stores on streets for that. I think we have yet to see what's the future, what's fashion look like past, you know, Yves Saint Laurent's idea of ready to wear. I think that now we are in a generation where us as sort of participants in this sort of streetwear culture can sort of dictate and build. More than anything, I feel like I'm a descendant of, you know, everyone from Kanye West to Pharrell Williams to Basquiat or Warhol. You know, I'm no one, sort of, as the first statement. Second statement is we're a part of a generation, you know, an art history, a movement that goes beyond just the website hypebeast. You know, before we were sort of documenting these products, it was, you know, there was the sex shop.
I appreciate all you guys watching and coming to tune in. Please leave a like on the video and sub to my page to help me grow it.
Draw that line all the way back to the Renaissance, or, you know, these art movements. So, you know, essentially I'm just an assistant to the people that came before me, trying to add to the design that goes forward for the next generation to continue. Like, I'm not anything, I'm just creative. You know, there's different words, there's different boxes to put types of creativity into, which I'm not that preoccupied with. I'm only interested in like making relevant ideas. All of them, you know, everything's sort of equally weighted for me. Every project I take on, I try to like swing as hard as possible and make it.
Here are some of the covers Virgil Abloh worked on for a few artists, such as like Jay-Z, Kanye. I even know he worked with Lil Uzi on one of them.
More than anything, I'm sort of focused on this sort of lineage of work and sort of consistency across different. That to me is more important than a particular project and what the resonance is on that. It's that if I did something in an album cover, a sneaker design, an in-store experience, or a temporary flyer on my Instagram, that everything sort of is rooted in some principle that's signature to my work. I think because, you know, it's like this shirt that I made that's behind me. It says like post.
I definitely did not see this coming either.
If it's been done before, you want it sort of refreshed just enough for it to be engaging, to recognize it. And so what I've been doing, or sort of my own work, is sort of like making work, sort of just, you know, thinking freely, but then also analyzing that work to understand why it resonates. So then future work is based off of the analysis plus that creative spark, you know. And I'm about, for me, it has to have a rationale. You know, design is just design. It just sits on the table. But unless there's a rationale or a thought process behind it, then it, to me, is it valuable. So, you know, that's just how I think. It's a design. You know, the lectures are, they're sort of, you know, I've yet to work on sort of my first book, sort of the cataloging all the work or sort of expressing the ideas. So those lectures, those are, you know, those are sort of like systems to communicate an idea. And a lot of what I think is missing from our culture is discourse, whether it be critical, whether it be instructional, whether it be motivating, whether it be here's how to actually do this, just don't be a consumer. And, you know, those epiphanies I had for myself started the work. And my idea is if I'm sort of borrowing airtime, I'm also going to give back. And sort of, to me, it's only better if this sort of community of streetwear actually grows and is a foundation. So it's not me just the sort of lone ranger, sort of exploring ideas, having these sort of valuable experiences in the past, going out to sort of achieve something for myself that's not interesting to me.
I appreciate every single one of you guys watching. Please leave a like on the video and sub to my page to help me grow my page.
But as you said, like, you know, like hypebeast comments themselves are interesting. That sort of like culture, you know, I don't read any of it, but I can identify with that sense of sort of critique, humor, expressiveness that should dictate what those products look like that are up top of those comments. You know, it's a community, and I'm interested in that. You know, like I said, I don't read them, but I can see an image and already know what the comments are. To me, that's a valuable design skill. And I could discount it, but I don't. I like it. I think it's our barometer is if a t-shirt is worthy of being made or not, or if a sneaker is actually adding to the culture. You know, I want the larger fashion industry and ecosystem to not see us, you know, as this sort of like fly-by-night trend, this sort of hyper-consumer. You know, there's real discerning taste. There's kids in our community that know, you know, Helmet Lane collections by heart. You know, there's kids with crazy archive collections. And then they also understand the sort of camaraderie amongst themselves. They understand that true mix. My only contention was that there's no designer that manifested that. You know, there's more. There's a lot now, which I think is great. You know, my true sense is just be myself in any sort of scenario. So I'm authentic to that. It's not like that to me is what should be happening in 2017. You know, I
Dang.
shouldn't be
2017 wearing Jordans to the Met Gala.
like looking at photos of these important moments and wonder why are these other cultural things so important, but then these other ones are so separate. You know, I very much, you know, can sleep at night because
I appreciate you guys watching. Please leave a like on the video and sub to help me grow my page. Rest in peace, Virgil.
work is sort of founded on that. It's like no longer being the peanut gallery or staring with your friends like, man, so and so should have won this VMA or something. It's like, wait, let me get off the couch, make something, and sort of put those two things on the table so that kids can rejoice in feeling like, oh, this institution is recognizing what's happening in the street. Oh, it's me, you know, same 17-year-old version of myself, skating, listening to rap music and Nirvana and Guns N' Roses. You know, I'm just older, and I've made a profession out of it. You know, it's not, on one hand, it's not work by any means. I'm still like just being free-form creative, but it's my life, you know, it's my creative expression. To me, one of the main motivations is that, you know, I'm an optimist. You know, I'm into humanity more than like the cool sneakers or something. But design has that ability to transform and use both those tools. You know, I sit around and I think, wait, like my interactions with people are not rooted in sort of prejudice against like race, age, color, religion, you know, sexuality, but a lot of people feel that way, you know, and my project embedded, like, I would say at the core is like humanity and education. Like we can use design, we can use trends.
A true humanitarian. R.I.P. Virgil. I appreciate all you guys watching. Please leave a like on the video and sub to help me grow my content.
Proof. You know, yeah, you can go to a job interview in a hoodie now. You shouldn't be hired whether or not you have the right sort of costume for the right persona. But
I like
maybe things are more relevant now that speak to it. You know, it's all about personal expression. You know, these clothes are just tools to sort of make a collage about yourself so that people can sort of understand what you know. Zero stress, and it's just my phone. You know, like I've always made it a point to be friends with a varied group of people. That goes into like my optimism or whatever. And it's like, it was just a design conversation, make something that was valuable. Like all these words that I'm saying, you know, like I'm a very big sort of advocate that you can take these words and put them into a product. That's an epiphany. Like I didn't know that you could, you know, if the shoe is a shoe, like how can you say that it's supposed to like bridge all these gaps and be interesting for, you know, a tourist and a purist, someone that's obsessed with sneakers and someone that just literally doesn't care but looks at them and they're like, oh, you know, crossing all boundaries of is it streetwear, is it high fashion, is it for young, is it for old, you know, that can be designed and whole ecosystem. So for me, you know, I'm thankful.
I appreciate every single one of you guys watching. Please leave a like on the page, on the video, and sub to help me grow my page.
Make something that people cherish. You know, we shouldn't be making more shoes if they're not different to me. They should have a reason for existing. It's all personal feedback. You know, like if I get along and there's a spark, then something can be made together. So, you know, that's important to me. It's also important the iconography of certain things. You know, IKEA represents something. So you can design, and then you can also have a conversation with a dialogue. My approach to something that's, you know, that cemented in itself. Same with Nike, same with Champion. You know, I only collaborate with brands that I feel like I can have a dialogue on multiple levels with. I don't know. You know, I think, you know, timing, you know, a lot of people came before in a different era. You know, this current era, there's a lot more freedom, you know. kids on the Instagram are photoshopping checks backwards and things. So it's just culture's moving. That's all. It's been like that since before now. You know, we're not the only ones to discover this. And I think for me, it was.
I appreciate every single one of you guys watching. Please leave a like on the video. Sub to my page to help me grow it. R.I.P. Virgil.
Let's just change it because we've never seen it and it makes it interesting. You can go either like a punk route, which is just like self-serving to the artist or something, or you can, the way I see it, is sort of like a goodwill, you know, and I took that approach. My thing with all the edits to the Nike was just reinforcing the iconography or the principles that the brand is. I was using it as a dialogue, you know, Roger Federer hitting tennis balls in the Jordan that say his name on it. It's like, you know, to me, like when Jordan is getting kicked out of the league because it's just a style choice that's against the rules, or, you know, Andre Agassi is wearing like street clothes. It's the fact you have to me, it was like a conscious, like, hey, I'm just turning the wheel back and forth, but the point is to underline Nike innovation. What is important to that brand? Me as an outside designer, I can choose to exalt or put down, and the idea was to exalt it.
Here's a message from the GQ community. GQ has posted, the global GQ community is devastated to learn of the death of Virgil Abloh. Virgil was the consummate, modern, multi-hyphenate creative. Changed fashion and culture forever and opened doors to a whole new generation. He will be missed. R.I.P. Virgil.
Whether it's music, whether it's fashion, whether it's, you know, culinary, it's not like necessarily a sort of specific thing, it's a collective consciousness. This is what we're into. This is the trend. Flannels or dress shirts. We're not into dress shoes anymore. We're into sneakers. We're not into, you know, it's like this sort of, it's the upside is it's this sort of international community that never maybe existed in such a cemented way. We have this thing, social media, where we can communicate, and we.
Well, that's a lot. Definitely did not. I appreciate all you guys tuning in to watch.
Grew beyond his circle of friends.
Baton Don when I'm walking down the street.
So how did Virgil get here? How did he create a personal brand so valuable that the world's #1 luxury house was willing to bet their future on his direction? How did Virgil steal Kanye's dream job? Virgil was born outside of Chicago in Rockford, Illinois. He and his sister were raised by immigrant parents from Ghana. As a kid, he was obsessed with fashion, art, and design. His earliest look at culture came from skateboarding and hip-hop. He said, quote, "I was just like an average sort of suburban kid, born in 1980, into watching Michael Jordan or listening to Guns N' Roses or NWA. Skateboarding and that whole aesthetic was my fashion upbringing." When Virgil discovered graffiti in 6th grade, it sparked his passion for drawing. He and his friends would draw Nike shoes and send them to the company, even though they never accepted any designs. When Virgil got to college, he studied engineering at Wisconsin-Madison to please his father.
My dad said, like, I always wanted a son as an engineer, and I'm the opposite of like a rebel type. So I was like, that's the least I can do for like for you making that stride from a third world country
Yeah, it's like you're gonna get a son that's an engineer.
After his undergrad studies, he went back to Chicago and got a master's degree in architecture from the Illinois Institute of Technology. At IIT, Virgil had a professor that took him under his wing. He told him to learn the computer programs for more than just architecture. So Virgil learned 3D programs and the Adobe suite, and it was during that class that he started making t-shirts. Abloh began taking shopping trips to New York City and eventually started blogging about a wave of brands selling skate clothing without the skateboarding. This was when streetwear started to make its way into the mainstream.
Originally, I was just a consumer. I was the person that was just buying things that were interesting. I came from an era within streetwear in New York, in Los Angeles, and Japan, that there was sort of like great vibrance because it was new and sort of an independent market.
In the book, This Is Not a T-Shirt, designer Bobby Hundred says, quote, "Defining streetwear is very difficult. A lot of people see t-shirts and ball caps and think it's hip-hop or skater style, but streetwear is simply the merchandise associated with an attitude." Virgil got his first shirts made at a screen printing store in Chicago called Custom Kings. He gave the shop his art files in such perfect format that they literally just hit print. Since he formatted the files perfectly, the store offered him a job. And a couple weeks later, Don C., a manager for an up-and-coming Chicago rapper named Kanye West, went into the store looking for designers. He introduced Virgil to Kanye shortly after, and the two vibed right away because they loved talking about ideas. So in 2007, West hired Abloh to help him realize his growing ambitions beyond music.
Trying to catch the beat. Trying to catch the beat. Trying to catch the beat. Trying to catch the beat.
For us all, because there was a time when we all were crazy. There's a time when it was fish sticks in South Park. Now everybody want to pull up at a fashion show.
Well, Kanye was the guy when it was completely unpopular that said, "I am not to be typecast into a box." Like, he willed it for us, like I go back, he was like, "We're going to Fashion Week, this place that we can't get in." That dream is his just as much as it's mine. In my dream, it was him down the runway. The one thing that has to be stressed about that show is that it actually wasn't me on the runway. It was the community. That show was us, and that link wouldn't have happened unless, I acknowledged that Kanye stood from a mountaintop long ago and yelled, saying, "The future of fashion will be like this."
Abloh's appointment represents a new wave in fashion and demonstrates that the industry is now taking streetwear seriously, as is often
I appreciate you guys watching. Please leave a like on the video and sub to help me grow my page.
opinions. To some, it's the dawn of a new era in fashion, but to others, it's a sad victory for hype over originality, with critics citing Abloh as not a design genius, but rather a smart communicator that got the system to think he is. So why did Virgil get the appointment over Kanye? Ultimately, I think it came down to perception. In many ways, Kanye West is divisive and too much of a liability. He's never shied away from offering his takes on race and politics. Abloh, on the other
I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Please leave a like on the video and sub to help me grow my page.
Boy Portic Flacco, anywhere you go, anybody, some of his business, man. Now, if boy fought under Kanye, he learned from Kanye, he stayed humble, played his.
That's another video for you guys to watch.
Boy Portic Flacco, anywhere you go, anybody, somebody gotta know me. We're back again with another one, folks. Now check it out. And folks, why do it seem like at the end of every year, we just get hit with a ton of tragedies, man? Like, this is insane. We just got word that young Dolph died, a week ago. Now we're getting word that Virgil Abloh has passed away from cancer, man, and he battled it in silence. He didn't tell nobody he has cancer. He just dealt with it like a man, but still handling his business, man. Now, if you guys don't know who Virgil is, man, let me just break it down to you, man. So Virgil is the definition of play your part and come up, right? He was a dude who was talented, right? However, he played his part under Kanye. He learned from Kanye. He stayed humble, played his part so well. He was so humble, dog, that even Drake took a shot at Kanye, man. Drake was like, yo, like, fam, yo, how you suppress Virgil, man? Like, if I had a Virgil in my team, he would have been shining, right? That's how much he played his part. Eventually, he got his opportunity, right? And then he became bigger than his master in terms of the fashion world. He was taking over. He played his role and he was about to take over, right? He got a seat with Louis Vuitton. The Off-White brand was taking off. He was being looked at as the guy who was gonna shape the future of streetwear, right? Branding over like the street.
This just happened.
Virgil Abloh is an artist, architect, and fashion designer who has risen to the absolute heights of fashion and design, literally. Within the span of several years, Abloh went from selling screen-printed Champions gear and Ralph Lauren rugbies with the moniker Pyrex 23 screen-printed on them to becoming the first African-American artistic director at the world's largest fashion house, Louis Vuitton. Virgil's success wasn't necessarily handed to him, although it may seem like that at times. Virgil traveled a long road and knocked down many barriers before he gained commercial success. We wanted to take a closer look at Virgil's entire career and dissect his early inspiration, the different steps he took along his career, and what catapulted him into stardom as a modern-day Renaissance man. Virgil Abloh was born on September 30th, 1980, in Rockford, Illinois, to immigrant parents from Ghana. His mother was a seamstress and his father managed a paint company. While being raised in Rockford, Abloh attended Boylan Catholic High School, which he graduated from in 1998. Growing up, Abloh was heavily inspired by graffiti, soccer, skateboarding, hip-hop music, and his biggest inspiration was Michael Jordan. As a kid, Virgil and his friends would draw concept sneakers for Nike and send them to the company's headquarters in hopes of landing a shoe deal. The brand never replied. Who knew what was to come? As a teenager, Abloh began DJing and was known for DJing house parties in high school and college. Abloh attended college at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, receiving his undergraduate in civil engineering in 2002. It was around this time he brought a t-shirt design to a local print shop to be printed. Allegedly, the design was formatted so perfectly that they just needed to hit print. Because of his skills, the store
We've heard that in like 2 different places. R.I.P. Virgil, man was a genius.
visited the shop looking for designers, where he met Virgil. Soon after, Don C. would introduce Kanye and Virgil. Abloh would continue his schooling and go on to receive his master's degree in architecture from the Illinois Institute of Technology in 2006. Soon after graduating, Abloh was appointed as Ye's personal creative director. In 2009, Kanye and Virgil interned together at Fendi as the rapper's interest in high fashion was beginning to peak. Surprisingly, Ye and Virgil were treated like any other intern. This meant they worked the typical 9 to 5, got their supervisor's coffee, and even made photocopies. The duo was reportedly only paid $500 a month for their work. Louis Vuitton CEO Michael Berg, who they were interning for, said in an interview for the New York Times, "I was really impressed with how Abloh and West brought a whole new vibe to the studio and were disruptive in the best way." It was around this time in 2009 when Kanye, Virgil, Don C., Taz Arnold, and a few others would break necks at Paris Fashion Week, when the notorious photo of the crew was taken by Tommy Tun outside of the Comme des Garçons show. This was the first fashion week both Virgil and Kanye had attended, and their interest in fashion changed from spectators to competitors within the industry. As Virgil rose to higher notoriety for being associated with Kanye, later in 2009, he and Don C. launched a retail store called the RSVP Gallery, located in Chicago. Their founded retail space became widely known for carrying a mixture of trendy fashion apparel and for its appreciation of Virgil's style on his interior design for the store. On January 5th, 2012, Ye announced a new initiative called Donda, named after his late mother. Donda would act as Kanye's creative agency, which served to execute ideas in the fields of design, art, fashion, music, and filmmaking. Virgil was arguably the most prominent member of the agency, and was listed as Donda's creative director. It is rumored that people would often joke Donda was just Virgil's laptop. While at Donda, Virgil was appointed the artistic director of Jay-Z and Kanye's Watch the Throne album, where he and then creative director of Gavinci, Riccardo Tisci, would collaborate, later earning them a Grammy nomination for Best Album Packaging. Virgil went on and finally took the next step, and in 2012 launched his first clothing endeavor, Pyrex Vision. The name was inspired by the Pusha T verse.
Pyrex stirs turned into Cavalli furs. The full-length cat when I wave the kitty purrs.
Starting with Champions Gear hoodies and gym shorts, Abloh screen printed Pyrex and images of Renaissance paintings on these pieces and sold them for hundreds of dollars. Later, Abloh would cop dozens of dead stock Ralph Lauren rugby flannels on wholesale for about $40 and screen printed the graphic Pyrex 23 on the back. The pieces would go on to sell for over $500. The stated goal of Pyrex Vision was to represent the importance of youth culture. By centering the designs around a garment that most youth would recognize from gym class, Virgil's ideas could be clearly geared around the importance of the now, especially having support from friends like A$AP Rocky, Kanye, and placements at multiple retail stores across the globe. He closed the company down about a year later, as he did not intend for it to be a commercial enterprise, but an artistic experiment. However, I'd think several cease and desist letters from companies such as Pyrex and Ralph Lauren may have played a major role in the closure of the brand. Pyrex Vision marked Virgil's first noticeable mark as an independent designer. During this time, Ben Trill had been surfacing around the underground fashion scene, a DJ and art collective later turned into a streetwear brand founded by a group of creatives including Abloh, Justin Saunders, Matthew Williams, and Heron Preston. It was here Virgil's DJ alias, Flat White, was spawned and has stuck around ever since. From the super teched out launching of an app to dropping merchandise, collaborating with other brands and artists, Ben Trill has always seemed to be ahead of its time. With its cult-like following on Tumblr, the brand quickly became a relevant name in streetwear culture. But as the brand grew and changed from its vision over time, there were reports that some members of the group just couldn't see eye to eye anymore, which led to the closing of a national distribution deal with PacSun. Finally, the brand was put to rest when A$AP Rocky dissed Ben Trill on his single, Multiplied, for reportedly not paying homage to its roots. The next morning after the release of the song that fans were trying to sell Ben Trill related items on multiple Facebook buy, sell, and trade pages. Soon memes surfaced on the web as well. It seemed as if the shots were probably thrown at other members of the collective, as Virgil and Rocky were always seen kicking it. In 2013, Virgil launched Off-White, his first serious attempt at breaking into the high fashion industry. When describing what Off-White was to fashion critics and investors, he defined Off-White as the gray area between black and white. Off-White took the fashion industry by storm, and by 2014, the brand launched a women's line as well. In an interview, Virgil described Off-White as the first luxury brand built entirely off social media.
I work on the street, literally, like phone in hand. I feel like Off-White might be one of the truly first sort of like luxury brands that's been just built from social media.
This was
I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Please leave a like on the video and sub to my page to help me grow my content.
A$AP Rocky and Ian Connor. The unique growth of this brand marked a shift in the fashion industry and thrusted streetwear into the high fashion luxury category. Virgil's designs brought a new way of thinking into fashion, branding his clothes with the cross pattern typically seen at a work site in quotation marks. Off-White's first noticeable pieces were screen-printed hoodies, tees, varsity jackets, and denim. In 2015, Virgil was the only American finalist for the prestigious LVMH Awards, which recognized young fashion designers for their work. In just a few years, Off-White became one of the premier luxury fashion brands in the world. Through Off-White, Virgil has had a direct impact on pop culture, observed through how often he and his brand are referenced in modern music. The name for Off-White was actually given to Virgil from A$AP 12V, as he recalls here in an interview with Breakfast Club.
How much influence did A$AP Mob have on hip hop, or just the culture? Because I even heard the 12 he came up with the name of Virgil's clothing line.
Yeah. I was like, nah, you make the Off-White and the crack in the pot. You know, I said you make the Off-White and the crack in the pot, and then he was like, oh. Then he ran with it, you feel me?
Wow. As of today, Off-White is one of the best-selling brands in the industry and has collaborated with brands including Levi's, Montclair, Rimowa, Champion.
That's wild. I did not know that. He really went out on top.
In 2016, Nike approached Abloh about doing a collab, which involved him redesigning 10 of the best-selling Nike sneakers. 8 different Nikes, 1 pair of Jordans, and 1 pair of Converse. Admittedly, Abloh was hesitant to take the job, calling it potential career suicide, but eventually he did under the circumstances that he would not change more than 3% of the shoe. When referring to the shoes, Abloh said, "It's larger than design culture. These 10 shoes have broken barriers in performance and style. To me, they're on the same level as the sculpture of David or the Mona Lisa." This collaboration proved to be extremely successful, launching in the fall of 2017, as each pair resold for thousands of dollars on the aftermarket. Through the 10 collaboration's success, Virgil was in the center stage for the rest of the fashion world to witness. Virgil went on to design exclusive fitness garments for Serena Williams, as well as other Nike Times Off-White pieces. This collaboration would continue to break down barriers and open doors for what was next in Virgil's career. With the announcement of Kim Jones leaving Louis Vuitton after its groundbreaking collaboration with Supreme in early 2017, there was speculation of Virgil taking on the position due to his close mentorship with Kim Jones. On March 26, 2018, Virgil uploaded a photo on IG of a vintage Louis Vuitton trunk that caused the fashion world to go crazy. At the same time, Louis Vuitton, the world's largest fashion house, announced that Virgil would be preceding Kim Jones as the creative director for the men's ready-to-wear line. This announcement was historic, as it marked the first time in history that an African American was the creative director for Louis Vuitton. Virgil debuted his first collection in June 2018 during Paris Fashion Week. The historic show featured artists like Kid Cudi, Playboi Carti, Devin Hines, and Steve Lacy walking the runway. Abloh had his mentor Kanye sitting front row during the show, after they shared an iconic hug that embodied the emotion and struggle of what it took and how many barriers had to be broken for someone like Virgil Abloh to become the creative director for Louis Vuitton. Later in an interview, Abloh credited Kanye for him being in the position he was in, saying that Kanye had to crawl so I could run. In an interview with Zane Lowe later that year, Ye revealed that he felt bad. He felt that he was supposed to be appointed to that position. He went on to say, "I was the Louis Vuitton Don. People still call me the Louis Vuitton Don when I'm walking down the street." Kanye continued to comment about Virgil's show, saying, "If I didn't go, then who was I?" He ran that touchdown in for all of us, because there was a time when we were all crazy. Since Virgil has taken over, Louis Vuitton's ready-to-wear collection has dominated the men's high-fashion luxury market. As Virgil was taking over the fashion industry, he would also exercise his interest in contemporary art. In 2018, Abloh collaborated with Japanese artist Takashi Murakami at the Gagosian Gallery and Kaikai Kiki Gallery in Tokyo. More recently, in 2019, Virgil held a solo exhibition titled Figure of Speech at the Chicago Museum of Contemporary Art. This exhibit displays a mid-career analysis of Abloh's conceptualizations in fashion, art, and music. The exhibit was shown in various museums throughout the country and was turned into a book titled Figures of Speech. Despite being heavily influenced by classic bands like Guns N' Roses, Nirvana, and hip-hop, Virgil never really saw himself making music necessarily. But in early 2018, Abloh released his first EP titled Orange with Boys Noise, an experimental record that dove into undiscovered techno and tribal depths. Furthermore, with the success of constantly working on DJing, he's gone from playing high school parties to becoming a household name and began to get booked constantly for shows and festivals like Tomorrowland, Coachella, and Camp Flog Gnaw, to name a few. He even opened for Travis Scott's Bird Eyes View tour in 2017. As mentioned earlier, over the years, both as part of his position at Donda and personal projects, Virgil has overseen and art-directed many high-profile albums, including Kanye's My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, Yeezus, Good Music's Cruel Summer, Kid Cudi's Wizard, Big Sean's Finally Famous, A$AP Rocky's Long Live A$AP, Lil Wayne's I Am Not a Human Being 2, and Lil Uzi Vert's Love is Rage 2, as well as many other albums. In 2013, Virgil co-directed A$AP Rocky's music video for Fashion Killa, which featured Rihanna and cameo scenes from The Mob. Many fans of the song have stated that the video is one of the best they've ever seen. Fast forward to 2017, and Virgil's directing Lil Uzi Vert's smash hit EXO Tour Life. In an interview with Fader, Virgil stated that his project with Uzi was his return to directing videos again. Virgil goes on to talk about Uzi saying, "These covers are a prequel to an in-depth creative back and forth using all of our different assets. He believed in me and I believed in him, and it's us doing this crash of things that are in our own head," which has later led to Virgil launching the Off-White International Rap Video Production Studio in March of 2020. The company debuted its first official project, the music video for Pop Smoke and Quavo's collaboration, Shake the Room, directed by Virgil. Virgil has also had many personal projects removed from his brand, including collaborations with Moet, Evian, IKEA, Baccarat, and Chrome Hearts, just to name a few. I don't think Abloh's legacy and influence on fashion will be fully appreciated and understood for years to come. It's not very often a single man can change an entire industry, but that is exactly what Virgil has done. Abloh's appointment to Louis Vuitton exhibits how the world of high fashion takes streetwear seriously now. This can be seen as the dawn of a new era in fashion. Although Virgil's works far exceed fashion and extend into design, contemporary art, and music. Most importantly, Virgil has used his platform to engage and uplift other designers and young creatives, like Samuel Ross, Heron Preston, Lucas Sabat, Ev Bravado, and Bloody Osiris, just to name a few. Virgil has made it clear that he intends to show other young, aspiring creatives that the door is open to design fashion beyond the runway. Virgil's career plays out like a story in which hard work, perseverance, and originality can break down any barrier. Who knows what's next in Virgil's career, but one thing is for certain, and that is Virgil will go down in fashion history as one of the most important designers of our time. Thank you for watching this episode of
Thank you guys for tuning in. Please leave a like on the video and sub to my page to help me grow my content. Appreciate every single one of you guys watching. Alright, P Virgil. Thank you guys for tuning in.
What book is within arm's reach? I'll show mine.
Appreciate every single one of you. Please leave a like on the video and sub to my page to help me grow my page.
Phone just where I'm looking at, and it's very funny. So I'm stuck in this warehouse that has a parking lot, and before the lockdown, somebody delivered this bricks. So out of the bricks, I built a little fire pit. And
nice.
I have this boom box that plays audiobooks. So in the evening, I'm sitting at the fire pit, making notes, and because I am obsessed with multitasking, I'm listening on chapter 47 now. I'm listening to the book's Sacred Economics, and it's fantastic.
Incredible. I just got this in the mail.
Oh,
Bernadette
beautiful.
Corporation.
Oh, big fan. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah. Excellent quote on the back. It says, if some fool wants to impair himself, that's their own business. Great, culturally relevant art crew. What else? I think as we ramp down, again, like making this conversation, what I'm glad is that people who are following me that don't get like the deeper level ideas and understand that in the art world, there is, beacons like yourself that are sort of looking to bridge the gap. And I think that's probably what we have most in common. Like within our own practice, we have a non-typical approach to it at very important positions. So if you're speaking to my, like, what would you say to you know, it's filled with people just like me that represent their own community, have their own identity, or designers and artists in their own right, maybe like outside in the periphery, as we discussed. What would you say to them in terms of like where your vision is at moving into 2021 about contemporary art?
My vision is that after 8 weeks of safer at home, as the lockdown called here in Los Angeles, what would I have done 8 weeks without the book I'm listening to on my fire pit on the boombox? What would I have done with novels, with poems, without the studio visits? What would I have done without art in terms of like movies and stuff? I'm watching old movies again that I remembered. I put this huge sheet of paper on the wall here, and I'm writing down what pieces of music impressed me at different times of my life and what movies. For example, when I was in my teens, I watched that French movie called Diva. And it's kind of, I don't even know what it's about, but the visuals are so beautiful. And I was 17, and I just looked at it and I thought, oh God, that's how people can live, and that's how a home can look. And there was like a bathroom in the middle of the space, and the space was all dark blue and open, and there was a lot of stuff in the back. And so I remember when I was 17, 18, I watched this. So what would I tell the audience? I think I would tell everybody that it's very important to encourage your own creativity, to be courageous with what you scribble and what you draw, and even if it's like making notes and recording and taking pictures. I'm so happy that everybody has a phone now that can take a little video and you can work with this. So I would always encourage creativity, because that was so important for me. And I would always encourage everybody to have the widest angle lens to look at the world, because for me, that is always, when I came to LA, I asked a group of artists, what shall I visit that you think I would never find myself? So be teachable, learn, observe, and be impressed. I think there's also a certain vulnerability there to be impressed by something you see and you really love. And I remember I first contacted you on Instagram because there was this red jumping.
Not gonna lie, he has some great fashion sense. I really like that suit right there.
Text, and I said, I love this. I felt like, oh God, now I embarrassed myself in front of Virgil.
You know, that's how the world becomes a smaller place. And I think what's cool, like, look at us, we connected. And if we can have a conversation about context and history, our own personal history, that means that the exhibitions that we see in the future can also sort of bridge the gap and share these things in a form like I just showed you with this model here. You know, it's like the artist and the curator working to tell like a new narrative is something that, you know, I'm always looking for the upside in all this craziness. And, you know, I definitely think that our generations on Earth now are, you know, we have room to showcase how amazing and forward thinking we can be. We have all the tools. I have an iPhone. I have pen and paper. You know, I can make a film with an iPhone, and, you know, things that couldn't have been done in years past. So at the end of the day, I think, you know, it's an inspiring time, and hopefully we see something amazing come out of it.
Yeah, and I hope we meet in person.
I know. I'm definitely going to come to this crazy studio tropical situation you have next time I'm in.
Perfect.
And I think it's the same thing with what you're doing. Venus wasn't on that flyer. You inserted her because you wanted to represent New York culture.
Yeah.
Because in the day, Migos are incredible. Quavo's one of my favorite rappers.
I have this like innate fear that the glory, or not fear, it's like the idea that the glory days are gone.
I believe so too.
But I feel like that's like devil's advocate. I feel like it's a device to promote laziness, is to be like, it sucks now, so I don't go out, or LA sucks. I say that often, but like New York is not the same, but it's like we were doing other random stuff before, but I think apathy is the new, like people are just like so cool.
That's
Post Williamsburg, American Apparel, I'm a snob. And so culture is like whatever it is, whatever
Apathetic.
it's like, okay, it's lower than now. If I say, here's a party, I'm gonna just do some like yin yang. It's like, oh, we got a whole bunch of out of town rappers. Let's put someone local. It's like, boom, it's better. Design Miami. It's like a whole industry that thinks that we should just be doing parties. And I'm like, oh, nah, I got something over here and it looks totally different. To me, that's like each of that style of juxtaposition raises culture up and like plays against the apathy.
No, so look, that's actually the key word. The Trump election win and the Brexit referendum vote was about apathy. It wasn't about anger. It's about the people who didn't vote. They were too cool to give a fuck. That was the issue. The issue isn't the people who voted.
If you forced everyone to vote, you would have had a different.
You're right. The issue was apathy, which is a word he brings up. Here's my whole thing. Culture is saturated because we've grown up and we've had it and we've misused it and we've loved it and we have technology. There are parts of the world they've never had it. That's where culture is next. So post the Enlightenment, in Europe you had the Renaissance, right, where a new way of thinking had to occur. You know, because post-religion and science, people were just like, okay, now art is the way forward, right?
Mm-hmm.
So everyone became some sort of artist in some form. Now, my whole thing is this. Everyone over here has had all of this. We're super entitled in the West. We've had time and energy and money and resources to do whatever we want. There are parts of the world they haven't had that. That's where culture is next. So we actually need to be explorers. We need to go to those places and interact with those people with the knowledge that we have, because what we've got here is too much and your belly's full. That's what apathy is. It's like, I've just had it for so long. I don't care if I eat or I don't eat. I don't care if I drink water anymore. Do you know what I mean? I don't like, all I care about is if the Wi-Fi code is on. Like, give me the Wi-Fi code.
No. Fully
Before I
charged
kill someone.
iPhone.
But that's the thing. But that's why people like Virgil, Heron, you, A-Side are important, because on a micro to macro level, let's say the T-shirt, there are a lot of guys in our age group who are just like, another graphic tee? Apathy, because they hung out at Union. They had, they had the first Supreme T-shirt with Robert De Niro on it from Taxi Car Driver. So when I dropped No Vacancy, they're like, oh, another fucking T-shirt. Oh, you're referencing Carlito's Way. Oh, cool. You know what I mean? Whereas culture is the people who don't hold on. That goes into the art dad thing. Holding on to the torch, wherever you want to call it, no matter what, and not getting apathetic and not being like, oh.
And being progressive with it, because here's an example that we can all kind of get our head around. It's simple, like New York rap and Atlanta rap, right? New York reached saturation. There was a rapper in every corner, and New York believed in itself so much, purely based on the
I was one of them at one point.
Right. So
a long time
and
ago.
in Atlanta, they never got to shine.
In the galaxy far, far away.
They had little hits, Jermaine Dupri or whatever. All Gucci Man did was create culture at such a vigorous level outside of, because if he'd come from New York, he would just have been another guy trying to sign to Bad Boy.
Is music dead?
Absolutely not.
Not at all.
Impossible.
Because I'm not, just throwing it out. But why does music feel different now than it did when we were in teenagers in high school?
Because we're expecting
the format.
Because we're expecting the same hit from the same old drug. Like, you know what I'm saying? We're expected to feel the same way you did when you first smoked weed or whatever, sniff, blow, or whatever people do. Like,
I think it's the more you listen to music and the more your knowledge grows, you have to just go dig deeper. For me, I thought I knew a lot about music till I met A-Side and Benji B and moved to London, and that reinvigorated my interest in it. You know what I mean? Like I had New York on lock, and I never did parties. I only did parties for like my birthday. Like Cafe Select, I'll do a birthday. If a new spot open, that's where I do my birthday party or something. But I didn't give a fuck. Where coming to London, meeting all these DJs, hanging out at his crib, listening to vinyl, shit I never heard before, smoking stogies. It's like, oh shit, yeah, let's do a party. Because it made me give a fuck again. Yeah. So I don't think music is dead. I think it's harder. There's so much of it now. It's harder to find it. You know what I mean? Like, it's harder to find it.
Like A-Side,
prime example. Sorry, go for it.
No, I'm just like trying to find music. It's like growing up listening to the same shit. It's like, all right.